Hey, Dave Spalding here on the range. I'm coming back at you as a follow-up to the video we put up last week called Perfecting Your Carry Gun. We got some interesting response to that. Not too many douchebags, but there were a couple. Most of them were very positive, and they thanked us for doing that. A few questions came up that made Darren and I realize that we probably needed to do another video to kind of hammer some of the points that we really didn't get at. Again, here's the gun. I'm going to, as you can see, it's clear. I'm going to close it up. The first point I want to make is someone asked again, who did the grip reduction? David Bowie of Bowie Tactical Concepts, BowieTacticalConcepts.com. Now, I made the point in the last video that I did the trigger guard cuts and the thumb pad right here. The reason I did that is that I wanted them to be in very specific locations so they would allow me to build my grip. David can do these. If you're pretty confident that you know where you want them at, you know how large you want them to be, David can do those for you along with the grip reduction, and they'll look a whole lot nicer than what I did here. However, what I was interested in is I was interested in very specific locations that would allow me to build the same grip each and every time. So if that interests you, get a hold of David. Just tell him you want the same 1911 style grip that Dave Spalding's got. He'll know exactly what you're looking for. Now, the next thing that popped up, and we didn't address it very much, is the carry optic. And that proved to be quite controversial. There were people that called me a fad follower, some other people that called me a FUD. That's all well and good. I don't care. At my age, people don't hurt my feelings anymore. And since I'm not selling classes anymore, it's like, so what? You know, let people talk. The reason I have a carry optic, and let me first address the fact that I chose the Holosun SCS for self-charging system. It's got these panels right here that recharge the battery automatically. I like that. Some people will say that's a bad feature. I want to change the battery. I want to know it's fresh every year. You know, battery charging technology is pretty good right now, so I go ahead and trust this to work. The reason I like the SCS is because, as you can see, it fits right into the factory MOS Glock dovetail. This optic is about as sleek, about as close to the bore line as you can get. No, I don't know if I can drop it upside down on concrete and what it will do. I do know it's made of titanium. It's probably going to stand up just about anything that I do to it. So I like this. Some people have criticized it. It's only got a 2 MOA dot. Look at the size of the screen. The dot size has to be in relationship to the size of the screen. Holosun prides itself on being able to put a dot, a circle dot, just a circle. And if you want all of those things in there, then the dot's going to have to be appropriately sized. The green dot in here is plenty bright, and I have no problem seeing it. I have no problem finding it, which brings us to the reason that I chose an optical sight over fixed sights. I can see it. It's as simple as that. I would like it to be a bigger reason, but it's not. It glows. A glowing sight is real easy to find. It's really easy to see, especially at my age. Now, is it necessary? No, we talked in the previous video that, you know, for hundreds of years, we had fixed sights on guns. You know, they weren't used all that well by many people, but they did work if you did your part. So are they necessary? No. Are they useful? Do they solve a problem? Well, they are for me, and that's why I put them on my gun. They glow. I can find them real easy. The idea that I'm looking through the optic at the target and just placing the dot over it is not something new to me. I was one of the first people that really pushed brightly painted front sights for iron sights. And the reason being is because I learned really early in my police career that though using the sights was a really good idea, that if I was going to chart what that suspect was doing and make that very last minute decision as to whether or not I had to shoot, I had to be looking at him. I couldn't be focusing on sights, like the hard focus that you get during a competition. To some degree, you've got to be looking at what his hands are doing while you're giving him commands. And if he does do something suddenly, you've got to be able to distinguish whether to shoot or not. So the idea of a brightly painted front sight was something that appealed to me because it allowed me to have a sighted reference, but also chart what the suspect was doing. That's the same thing you do with these. Can I distinguish whether somebody's reaching for a wallet or a gun? Probably not. The window's not that big, but it does allow me to look at what's going on out there and then see a brightly glowing dot to give me a sighted reference. It's as simple as that. So if that's not a good enough reason for you, that's good. If it is a good enough reason for you, that's cool too, because I really don't care. Now, the next controversy. You can't find the dot, especially at close range. Bullshit. Folks, these things don't make it harder, they make it easier. And the people that tell you that you have to have special training and all this kind of stuff in order to use these is horse manure. If you have the ability to point at something, if you have the ability to point your muzzle, you can find the dot. Now, in my research, putting these together and interviewing students in classes, what I found is that people were trying to direct the optic, They were trying to direct the optic of the target, trying to direct the optic of the gun to the target. My apologies, we're not going to reshoot that. Instead of pointing the muzzle. As I said in the previous video, if you think about an arrow and you're pointing that muzzle, you can find this dot. Try this for yourself. Go in your bedroom, go into your basement, find something small, a wall switch or a electrical socket, and just point the muzzle of your gun at that object, and your dot is probably going to arrive there for you. You're not going to have to seek it out because you're pointing the muzzle at the target. Folks, let me kind of dispel something. The only reason for any sight system is it tells you where the muzzle is pointed. Doesn't matter if it's on a pistol, a rifle, or a howitzer. The only reason for sights is to tell you where the muzzle is pointed, because where the muzzle is pointed, the minute the round leaves the barrel is where it's going to go. So all the sights do is give you a pretty good reference of where that's pointed. If you mash the grip or slap the trigger or do something else with your hand, it's going to go astray. So will the sights. It always amazes me that when we talk about the phrase gun sights, that people think about iron sights or they think about optical sights, and they ignore the operative word of the phrase, sight, the ability to view or see. If you can't see the sights, they're useless. These glow. I see them easier. It's as simple as that. Hey, listen, I don't care if some former military guy comes along and says, I've killed 1,000 people with iron sights, thus they're the best. If I can't see iron sights, then his experience is useless to me. It's as simple as that. So I have carry optics on my pistol because they glow and I can see them. Now, you can't use them at close range. That's not true either. You can use at close range as well as you can use fixed sights at close range. You just have to point it at the target. What we're going to do now is we're going to break away, and I'm going to do a couple of my preferred drills to kind of show to you how to get the gun on target and how to do it quickly. And we're talking small targets. In this case, we're talking 3x5 index cards. So Darren, let's break away and go set that up. The first drill we're going to do, I call the 2x2x2. That's 2 rounds in 2 seconds at 20 feet from a concealed holster on a 3x5 rectangle. Now you'll see it down there. It's got a piece of tape on it from an earlier drill, but the target is intact. I'm going to run the timer so Darren can run the camera. Let's take a look and see what that looks like. There's 184. Side by side, about an inch apart. So you can use the dot at close range, but just standing still and doing it, is that really a good test of the combative application of the red dot? Let's create a little bit more pandemonium. Let's amp it up a little bit by doing another drill I like to do in my practice sessions. Okay, the next drill I want to demonstrate for you, I call the 9-in-9 drill. It is 9 rounds, hopefully in around 9 seconds, but it requires you to fire from 2 different firing points. Now, if you can see the range setup, we're back 5 yards from the target, but I'm also a little offset because the 2 firing points are 5 yards apart. The target is still the 3x5 rectangle. I'm going to draw from concealment, shoot 3 rounds, instantly move laterally 5 yards. I'm going to plant. I'm going to reacquire the target, reacquire the dot, point the muzzle, 3 more rounds, change directions, come back where I was at, try to shoot 3 more rounds. We used to use this in our kinetic pistol class to teach aggressive lateral movement. Now, I'd like to say I can do this in 9 seconds, but my days of fast twitch muscles are probably behind me as I approach my 7th decade. So if I can get this under 10 seconds these days, I'm pretty happy. But the idea that we can't use the dot quickly, it just isn't true. So I'm going to run the timer so Darren can run the camera. Let's see how this goes. Let's go take a look. Okay, all 9 rounds are there. 986 under 10 seconds. So at my age, I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, it'd be nice to get it down to like 910, 920, but it probably isn't going to happen. But like I said, the idea that you can't use the dot up close and fast is not true. You just have to be able to point the muzzle at the target. If you have the proprioception, and we all do, to put the muzzle on the target, the dot's probably going to be there. If it's not there, I just recommend that you tighten your hands. There's a lot of different methods, probably different methods as there is instructors. Putting your nose behind the slide plate, dropping your head, using your pinky finger. All of those things probably work great. When I say tighten my hands, I'm trying to come up with a method that is very minimal on how the muzzle moves. My concern in a pandemonium type event right here would be that you'd drop your head too far, you'd smash too far with your pinky finger. And, maybe you wouldn't be able to get it in front of your nose, because you got to realize that when you point it and the dot's not on the window, it's not way over here. It's just off to the edge. You don't want to trade one problem for another one because you're moving too much. So when I tell you to come up and it's not there, just to tighten, all I'm trying to get you to do is move that dot into the window. Press the trigger. That actually happened to me right there. Didn't cost me anything at all. So, Dave Spalding, that's perfecting my carry gun between these 2 videos. That is why. I hope this helps. Thanks for checking in.